Heyo and welcome in today. Today you're joined by me, Daniel, and also Marco Schippers. Did you say it?
Schippers. Yeah, it's it's difficult to pronounce for foreigners. For English speaking people, it's a Dutch name.
Awesome.
But Schippers is fine.
Schippers.
It's okay.
Awesome. Yep. Also, M Studios, at ADP on Instagram and M Studios, ADP on YouTube as well. So you can
Yes.
find.
Right.
Awesome. Yeah, tell me a bit about yourself.
Yeah. Where shall I start? I'm 32 years old. I finally decided that art is going to be my main gig the coming years. I struggled with that for like 15 years. I always liked to draw. I always liked art. But I kept sidetracked with other things. People thought that other stuff was a better career for me.
Mm.
Um, I didn't necessarily agree, and it didn't work out. Excuse me.
It's alright.
So, yeah, after a lot of struggle, I decided to pursue the art path. Um, and so far I'm enjoying it. Monetarily, it's not been a success yet. But luckily for me, I don't depend on the art right now for my income, so that's great.
Yeah,
So I can just spend as long as I want with it. Well, technically I could spend as long as I want, but I set myself a goal, a 5 year goal. So that starts around this year. So I started this year. I set myself a 5 year goal, and I want to be reasonably successful after the 5 years, and that means that I want to be able to pay the bills with my art.
awesome.
Um, so yeah, that's it. That's it in a nutshell.
So, up until you did that, what other fields have you been doing?
um, yeah, I struggled with my health a lot. I got
Mm.
diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome when I was
Didn't cut out there.
all the time, and then I kept going to all sorts of medical instances, all kind of the reason why I was tired all the time
Yeah.
until like 3 years ago, I ended up at the psychiatrist, and I had a couple of sessions there, and then she said, "Have you ever considered to test yourself on ADHD?" And I was like, so. After that, things moved quite fast, and I got diagnosed with severe ADD.
Mm.
So that's the attention side of ADHD, not much the hyperactive side. And they also tested my IQ, which turned out to be a little bit higher than usual. So yeah, that means that yeah, how should I explain that? Everything feels really intense. Things like just shopping or walking down the street is really, really intense for me.
Mm.
And so that makes me quite tired. So I don't do that very often anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, concentration is a little bit of a problem, especially with the art as well. But I recently started some medication because I tried to do it without medication. I was like, don't really want to use the medication. But then didn't really work out. I really had uh, a hard time focusing on art, even on the things that I love to do. Um, I noticed that when I started recording my artworks. I use OBS for that. That's probably something that almost everybody uses. But I noticed that I started recording and then I start painting, and then after a while my concentration would drop, and then I would stop the recording, and then I would do other stuff for like 10, 15 minutes, and then I would have to force myself to go back to the art, and then I would start a recording again, do some art, and then stop recording it again. And I noticed that it was always like 5 to 8 minute sessions that I worked on my art.
Mm.
I was like, that's it's not very efficient because then if I work for 4 hours straight, I have like 6 or 7 of these maybe
Yeah.
total, yeah, on a good day. So I was like, that's never gonna work. So
Mm.
I decided to take some medication. Well, of course you have to go to the doctor. You can't really get those normally. So I started to take them like recently, a couple of weeks ago, and they've worked wonders. It's a totally different experience now. I can
Mm.
just start on my art. Everything is much clearer. I the ideas that I have in my head are a lot easier to put on the canvas or in Photoshop, the digital canvas, of course.
Mm.
So that's been a game changer. So hopefully that will help me to get better and to improve because I was a little bit stuck. I guess the last couple of months, I wasn't really sure where I wanted to take my art, my style, and sort of my preference. I really like landscapes and environments, and I was like, yeah, do I go that direction? It felt like I shouldn't do that because was my comfort zone, and everybody keeps talking about you gotta push beyond your comfort zone, you gotta expand.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, sure, let's try characters and stuff, and yeah, if I push myself, I can do it, but I
Mm.
don't enjoy it nearly as much as landscapes
Yeah.
and environments.
Was it
And
good?
then I watched a video recently of Trent Kinyuga. I don't know if
Yep.
you know
Trent.
him.
Yep. Trent. Yep.
He's
Yeah. No.
very well known, and he talked about the fact that in concept art there is a shortage on environment designers. I was
Mm.
like, yeah, that's my cue. I need to do the environment stuff. I'm gonna shove aside the characters and start doing environments because castles and stuff like that.
mm.
So that's where I'm going, I guess.
Oh, cool. Well, that's awesome.
So
You
that
know.
was a lot of sorry for
Yeah, I think you do cut out a little bit, but yeah, that's all good. But yeah,
that. Okay.
it's interesting there, you know. I think with concentration, even without, you know, ADHD or any other thing, it is struggling more these days with, you know, social media, with you know, things that you can do just instantly these days that push you away. You know, it's so easy just to, you know, pause your what you're doing and just go play a game. You know, these days where, you know, back in the day it was harder. You had to you know, put down your paints and everything and then go find a gaming store and play the game somewhere. You know, um,
Yeah, when it's harder to do stuff, it's how do you call that? There is sort of a threshold that
mm,
you need to overcome to do that stuff, but the threshold keeps getting lower and lower.
mm.
So yeah, doing stuff is yeah, it's the bane of our existence. It's gonna be the end of a society. I don't know. Maybe I'm a no, maybe not that big, but
mm.
it's.
It
I
is,
think
yeah.
there's eventually I assume eventually there will be sort of a wake up call among people
Mm.
who are like, what the fuck? Can I
Yeah.
swear? I'm sorry for that. What
Well, it's alright.
the,
We'll survive.
what the fuck are we doing here? At
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
point where we realize that
Mm.
um it's not all in digital space, but it gets pushed further and further. I mean, Facebook or Meta these days
Mm.
is pushing the digital side of things even more and stuff like NFTs, and I'm like, I don't know if that's a good idea.
Yeah, everyone's got mixed feelings about, all those things you've mentioned. um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I was saying, concentration is always a struggling thing for any artist, really. Um, am I concentrating enough, or am I not, concentrating too much,
yeah.
Um,
You want to find a balance
hmm,
in that, and that can be hard. You don't want to
definitely.
burn yourself out. I mean, if you go hard like 3 weeks in a row, and then you're like, oh, I can't stand this anymore, and
Hmm,
you quit for like 2 months, that's not good either.
yeah.
I think let me see, who was that? Adam Duff. Do you know Adam Duff?
Yep, Ed and Duff, I've talked to him before. It's pretty
Oh,
cool.
he is really he's all about that. Don't burn yourself out.
Hmm,
Pace yourself, and make sure you're healthy first before you do. Yeah,
hmm, definitely.
health comes first.
Yeah.
I think we live in a society where everyone is pushing themselves to the limit and over. I think not to the limit, over the limit all the time. Um, and eventually that has to stop because it isn't sustainable.
Hmm.
But yeah, there's always someone who pushes harder than you. I think that's also part of the struggle. There's always someone who works an extra hour in a day. I mean, if you work, I can't work for 8 hours a day due to my health. Currently, hopefully that will fix itself in the future. But currently, I can work like 4, maybe 5 hours a day if I'm lucky.
Hmm.
So in the back of my head, I'm always like, I should work more because there are people who work like 8 hours. The people who will work 10 hours. But when you work 10 hours a day, there's always someone who works 11 hours or 12 or 16,
Yeah.
and there's always someone who is better or does more. So what's the point? At some point, you have to find the pace that you're
Hmm.
happy with.
Yeah, you
But
just
yeah, we're sounding
yeah.
like a pair of doomsayers here.
Yeah, you find what works for you. I mean, there are a lot of people that actually only work 4 hour days and do really well with for themselves. Um, I mean, I would love if that was me, just being able to work 4 hours and that's a day and that's it. Uh, um, but
Yeah, I
it's
think we need to switch to productive hours
mm,
instead of just straight up hours. I mean, you can work 10 hours a day, but are those 10 hours productive? If you drink a lot of coffee and talk to your colleagues and I don't know, then those 10 hours are not productive.
it's
So
more
I think
like,
choose
a half day of work and a half day of break time.
it's called aanwezigheidspremie, we call that. So it's
Mm.
it's if you translate it to English, it's a fee to being present. So you're not earning your wage. You're
Mm. Yeah.
to be that,
Cutting out there again.
and that has changed a lot of stuff actually the last few years. I mean, people were always saying, working from home is never gonna work. You can't concentrate. You're a lot less productive. And now we found out that actually working from home for a lot of people is working wonders. My father-in-law is working from almost exclusively from home now for the last 2 years, and he's loving it. He says, I'm a lot more productive. I can start earlier. I don't have to commute to work.
Mm.
Um, it's great. So
Definitely.
that there is also a shift there. But yeah, we're all talking about productivity and work, and I thought we were going to talk about art, but that's my fault. Sorry for that.
It's all good. It's great. It's kind of to do with that in a way, isn't it?
For me, art is work at this point. Well,
Mm.
yeah, I treat it as work, even though I'm not getting paid yet. Um, if I'm not taking it seriously now, when is the point that I'm going to take it seriously?
Hmm.
So that's
Definitely.
something I struggled with in the past. It was always sort of a hobby for me, and people around me treated it as a hobby and never said to me, you should make a career out of this, or you can make a career out of this. It was never mentioned to me as a possibility. So I don't know if that's something that has to do with the culture here. Um, in the Netherlands, people are really straightforward and always about you gotta earn an honest living, you gotta
Hmm.
work hard, you gotta do something either with your hands, so you're gonna be a construction worker or something in healthcare or IT, something like that. And these sort of more creative careers are a little bit frowned upon, maybe.
Hmm.
Like it's shifting these days, but back in the day, I sound like an old man now, but
Yeah.
it there was always this mentality of if it's not real work, right? It's
Hmm.
it's it's a hobby, and you have the privilege to getting paid for your hobby, but it's not real work. While that's definitely changing now, and I feel like we should. It is work,
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
but that's more a cultural thing.
Yeah. I think, for me, I think it's more like a 90s mentality, like 2000 mentality, where, you know, you didn't really see a lot of that, or it was kind of not knowing of, the whole you could work as an artist in
Yeah,
the gaming industry or the movie industry. That wasn't heard of. um
it was far less known. Games were a lot less widespread. You were
yeah.
a total nerd when you were a gamer, and these days, almost everybody games in some shape or form.
Hmm.
So, and the industry is growing every year. So yeah, the demand of artists in that sense as well.
Yeah,
And of
definitely.
course, I think the demand is growing, but also the other side, what's that called in English? Um, the amount of people that want to work as an artist in the game or the movie industry.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that side is growing as well.
Yes, definitely.
Nobody
um
wants to be a content artist.
um striving towards it, what they called. Trying to think of it, but yeah, there's a lot more people out there wanting to yeah, become concept artists, and getting to the gaming industry. The same thing with kind of YouTube. How YouTube's so big, there's so many more YouTubers out there, that want to get on the ship.
Yeah,
Because
it's starting to become a valid career, a YouTuber. I mean,
mm,
who would have thought like 15 years ago or even yeah, 10 years ago it sort of started, I think. I think that the the people that are now big on YouTube probably
yeah,
good.
definitely. Back in the day, I think it was like somewhere around 2006, 7, ish, is when YouTube kind of became a little bit more popular.
Yeah.
Um, and then it was kind of a website where you post funny videos, kind
Yeah,
of.
you had
Yeah.
people were actually figuring out we can make money with this because YouTube plays ads on our videos and we get paid for those ads. So that's great. Let's upload a load of videos and then YouTube is gonna play a load of ads and then we're gonna get a load of money.
Hmm.
And especially in those early days, the
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
I think
And then,
a lot more these days. Then apocalypse hit and
yeah. What we got
And
these days?
everybody and their mom has a YouTube channel these days. I mean, even I have a YouTube channel. It's not very big yet, but
Hmm.
maybe it will never be big. But that's I use YouTube not necessarily to become a YouTuber. I mean, if it grows to be a part of my income, that's great. But for now, I use it as a method to at least come up with something presentable every week.
Awesome. Yeah.
I have the images, but I didn't render the video. I ran out of time to render the video
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
For the video you're working on, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I was gonna ask about your um YouTube channel. Do you actually have a schedule for that?
Um. I currently have a schedule. I upload every Friday. Well,
Okay.
usually I upload every Friday. This week I used to have a time where I streamed on Thursday.
Hmm.
But I want to get back into streaming because I like it. It's a little bit more laid back and you could chat a little bit with people and try to paint as well. Um, but I haven't really decided yet whether I want to stay on YouTube with my streaming or if I want to switch to Twitch.
Hmm.
Um, so as long as I haven't made that decision, I'm putting up the streaming part. And I also want to figure out what I want to do with the stream. Do I just work on the image that I'm gonna make the video about, or do I do separate stuff? Um, or do I just practice? Maybe I think too much about these things. I always want to sort of have these things figured out before I start doing them. And I also learned that sometimes it's just good to start instead of thinking everything through. I think too much about stuff like that. Um, I lost my train of thought there. Oh yeah, streaming.
Yeah.
So I want to get back into streaming, but I kind of lean to YouTube because I don't want to spread my audience too thin. Uh,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
see that a lot with people that are on both on YouTube and Twitch. It's almost like they're two separate communities.
Hmm. Definitely.
Sometimes.
Hmm.
And I want the community to be one family. That's yeah,
Yeah.
one community on one place. And YouTube is doing so much these days to promote that. I mean, you have the community tab. Well, you can stream, of course, on YouTube since yeah, that's already a couple of years. But YouTube is keeping uh keeps improving those things like super chats in streams, the channel membership, all that kind of stuff. So I think YouTube as a platform is nice, but for me, it's at this point, it's more of an additional motivation to keep working on art
Hmm. That's
rather
awesome.
than uh rather than that it needs to be a source of income for me.
Yeah. Definitely for years it has been that kind of for me too. Um, it keeps me motivated to keep working because I've got to produce this video each week. Um, and same with I did weekly tips for 2 or 3 years now. And that was cool. That got kind of sometimes got me out of my comfort zone where I was dealing with imagery I wasn't used to dealing with. Um, and having fun. Painting images I wouldn't usually. During my week. So that was always fun. Um, and it's I'm putting in and you get out things. You get out that experience of whether it's chatting with other artists or the kind of videos you make and subjects you draw and paint and talk about. Yeah.
You always learn new stuff
Hmm.
each day. I recently started making shorts for a separate channel. Um,
Ah,
and they're not really great images, but it's all images of fantasy weapons. And
cool.
maybe I'm
Yeah.
gonna expand it to landscapes
Hmm.
um, at some point. Um, but it's a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I can paint decently looking images in like 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I shrink them down in like 20-second clips or something.
Hmm.
And I noticed I'm doing that for 3 weeks now, I think.
Yeah.
And I start to notice that the sort of the skills that I pick up from that those translate to the landscape paintings.
Hmm.
Um, because before I was a little bit too random with my uh painting technique. I probably want to say it like that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, a little bit erratic, probably. And now I'm maybe it's also because of the medication, but I I slowed down my painting. Um, but by slowing down just a little bit, I actually speed up the process, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah.
I paint
Definitely.
a little bit slower, but a finished painting is a lot quicker, or I have a lot less cleanup to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in the end, it's faster.
Exactly. You know, if you're rushing around, you're gonna make mistakes, and then you have to clean up all those mistakes. You know. Um.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
end, it takes a lot more time.
It's like, going grocery shopping. If you're going grocery shopping, you're running around everywhere thinking about, oh, what do I need? Do I need this? I just need to get out of the shop. You end up just getting, or getting too much as well. You're just like, oh,
Yeah,
I need that, I need that, I need that, and put everything in the trolley. And then you get home and you didn't get what you needed, or you forgot what you needed
yeah,
by,
yep,
it's the same for, doing an illustration. You just end up either, quickly doing some fur texture, oh, that's fine, and then spending a lot more time later on trying to fix it up and trying to, get it looking
yeah.
good.
Yeah. It's better to spend a little bit more time up front,
Hmm.
and also know what you want to draw. Have a Yeah, and sometimes that can be a little bit hard. I mean, um, if you want to explore different shapes, or well, I do usually do landscapes these days, and if I want to explore um interesting landscapes, I need to make time to do some sketches. That's actually something I did this week
Hmm.
for the video that didn't come out. I made 9 sketches
Yeah.
pretty quick.
Awesome.
They took about 3 minutes per sketch or something, so they're really, really rough. But then from those 9 sketches, I picked three,
Yeah, yeah.
and then of those 3 sketches, the really rough sketches, I made three different uh less rough three rough paintings, so to
Hmm.
say. So I end up with 9 rough paintings,
Yeah, yeah.
and then I can decide which one I like, which one I don't like. Um, because you can have a perfectly rendered image,
Hmm.
but it can still look boring.
Yeah.
Um, Having a nice composition, nice lighting scenario, and I really want to focus on that this year, getting good at cool compositions, cool lighting, because I think lighting especially is key to a cool image. You
Definitely.
can you can you can lead the viewer's eye with lighting, and um so yeah, that's something I'm focusing on now, and hopefully the rest of the year.
Mm. Awesome.
Um, to sort of, and it's also good to have that sort of library in your head of possibilities because you, well, I don't know how that's for you, but for me, it's sort of stored somewhere in my head.
Mm.
So if you don't expand that sort of default library, you end up with the same images over and over again.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, so yeah, I try to expand that image library now,
Yeah,
and yeah, I still got time.
awesome. That's what because I've been doing 90-minute art challenges, which is really great because I can just do that usually in one night sitting, do the 90-minute art challenge. Um, so I need to, it only sacrifices one night a week or 90 minutes on the weekend or something. So it didn't take a lot of time, but it's like I can get a fresh new painting done within that time. It builds up my reference library. It lets me, work on those skills like, lighting and everything as well. Or something I think I've been struggling this week with, or it's really helpful to do that and to build up my reference library. Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah.
it's always sort of the struggle between quantity and quality, I guess,
Hmm.
if you know what I mean. You want to put out a certain quantity of work because I think the creativity and ideas and design, I think thrive by quantity. But um, quality is something that's for the viewer of the work. I think that the quality is more important
Mm,
than the
definitely.
quantity, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's always the struggle for yourself. You kind of want to put out a certain quantity to, and I think that's why personal work, and you don't have to show everything that you paint,
Mm,
um, because there's a lot of really rough images that if I show them to people, for instance, the 9 really rough sketches that I did, 3 minutes per sketch. If I show that to a random person who doesn't really do art or anything, I think they're looking at that and they're like, "What the heck did you just draw?" Even if I look at them, I'm looking at them now. I pull them up on my screen and I'm like, "Hmm,
mm.
yeah, what's that?" Well, then if I'm sort of switching on my sort of creative side in the brain, I'm like, oh, but if I take that image, I can do that with that, and I can sort of see through the mess and see the images that I want to create with it. Um, and so for your, I think for your creative part of the brain, that's sort of good to have those images, and they're really fast to make. So,
Mm.
um, I don't know where I was going with that, but
Yeah. Well, it's always good doing that, those thumbnails, doing the small little thumbnails. I think one good artist that I talked to in here, Matthew Dobridge, um, he's a
yeah,
cool, he's got a YouTube channel as well. I think he's
yeah,
been active lately on it, as far as I know.
yeah. He's been reasonably active. I even recently subscribed to him. So
Hmm. Um, but yeah, he goes over a bit of thumbnailing and things like that, so that's really cool to see. But yeah, doing those quicker, sketches that don't take too much time, it's good to help kind of your design side of things,
yeah,
where you're not focused and working on kind of the big elements, those lighting and everything like that. Um, but you kind of are because you're setting up the situation as well with the lighting. Um,
yeah. You can focus on different things with the thumbnails.
mm,
You can make thumbnails to sort of figure out a lighting scenario, and I think you can also make them with For instance, if you do characters, just do little silhouettes without any rendering or lighting or whatsoever. Or with landscapes, just put down some blobs, maybe color, or you can tackle different elements
Definitely.
with different thumbnails. Um, I also liked what I call the Feng Zhu method. Do you know Feng Zhu? He's not really active anymore. He used to be quite active in the
Yeah,
past.
I've heard of that name somewhere.
He has a
Maybe.
design school in Singapore, but he used
Okay.
to upload quite frequently on YouTube.
Yep. Yeah.
And he uses a. I use that method as well sometimes. Then
Mm.
I have a pre-made canvas with like 12 little thumbnails on it, and then I just grab photographs,
Yep.
just random photographs with nice color and stuff like that, and I start throwing them together with different layer settings. So the layer is set to color dodge or overlay, stuff like that. And
Yep.
then the
Yep.
layers blend together in different ways. And sometimes you
Ah.
blur a little some images and stuff like that. And after a while, you sort of start to see shapes in the thumbnails, and then you're like, that could be a castle, or that could be a village, stuff like that.
uh, well, it's pretty cool.
And
It's
I actually did a video about it a couple of months ago
awesome.
because I use that method as well
Mm.
sometimes. It can be a little bit dangerous because if you don't know how to extract those shapes,
Mm.
um, it's worthless. So if you
Yeah.
don't have at least some fundamentals, um, you don't really benefit from it,
Yeah. Fair
I
enough.
think. Because yeah, everybody keeps droning on about fundamentals, how important the
Mm.
fundamentals are. And yeah, I don't know. You can't really talk about art without talking about fundamentals. And people are probably gonna hate that because even I get sick of it sometimes. I'm like, yeah, oh, we're back to the fundamentals again. But it's just, yeah, in the end, everything goes back to the fundamentals. But I
Yeah.
think
Definitely.
we shouldn't make it a bigger deal than it actually is. I mean, in the end, it's just a little bit of perspective, and if you know a little bit how light works, you can make a decent looking image.
Yeah.
Maybe it takes a lot of time, but if you know how it works, or you don't even have to know how it works. If you have a cube or laying around and a little flashlight,
Mm.
you can you can actually start to practice it. Just draw what you see. And no, not necessarily draw what you see, know what you see. I think that's the important part about fundamentals. Know why it works that way.
Mm.
If you if you know why light behaves in a certain way, why things like bounce light and stuff like that, it's not that complex in the end. It's just rays of light that bounce off a object and then they are reflected back in a certain color.
Mm.
So if you know those sort of fundamentals, that we have the term again, then you can basically make anything, of course.
Exactly.
Um, but sort of translating the fundamentals, which are in itself reasonably simple, to the complexity of an image, I think that's sort of the part where people struggle. I don't think people necessarily struggle with understanding the fundamentals, but I think the struggle is to translate those fundamentals to a good looking image.
Mm.
That's what I struggle with anyway,
Yeah.
sometimes.
Definitely.
Then you're like, does this make sense? I want, yeah.
Yeah. It,
That's
yeah.
that, yeah, go ahead.
No, you keep going.
Yeah, but I wasn't really sure what I was going to say. So sometimes I start talking and I'm like, what was I
Yeah.
gonna say again?
Yeah, it's all about, some fundamentals. Um, but yeah, I think it's a kind of a lifetime journey. You're always with the fundamentals. You're expanding on them, Um, lighting, obviously, you can always expand on it, learn new different things about lighting. Um, so it's not kind of end all, all about it. There's always something
No, I
new,
no,
you know.
there's yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
that's definitely true. Um, but I think the sort of the translation how to sort of the to the canvas in actual brushstrokes
Hmm.
that those sort of um how do I make sense of this? Yeah, that's an ever going that journey goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
There's always new ways to sort of, oh, but if I do this, then um that didn't really make sense. I'm sorry. But yeah, you're never done.
Hmm.
There's always something you can improve.
Yeah.
Um, whether it's design or just um uh yeah, there's always something. You're never done. And there's always new methods. 3D is starting to get really big in
Hmm.
so yeah, that's something that I'm not sure if I want to dabble in 3D. I probably have to at some point. Um, it depends. Um, 3D only makes sense if it speeds up the process, I guess.
Yeah.
For concept art, that is. For just normal art, as in fine art, stuff like that, use whatever you want. I mean, even if it takes 300 hours to make a painting, nobody cares because
Hmm.
they're sort of, I think they're starting to get the separation between the sort of the traditional idea of art and the art for the industry. Um, so the concept art,
Hmm.
the concept art part is all about efficiency. I think S- make as many images in with good, not necessarily images. Make as many, I produce as many ideas as possible in the shortest amount of time possible,
Hmm.
and then yeah,
Well, yeah.
whatever is the fastest is gonna win in the end.
Sometimes. Um, but yeah, it's all about finding the right image, I think, you know. Um, with for me, that's how I feel about concept art. Finding the right image, because it's like shooting in the dark sometimes.
Yeah,
So sometimes you've got to shoot in the dark so many times to eventually hit that right spot. Um, but yeah, yeah. Thanks for coming. It's been great chatting with you. Any
yeah. I ramble a lot. I'm sorry for that.
That's all good. Any last things you'd like to say?
Um, I don't know. I feel like I have to say something really, really profound. Um, I don't know. Have fun.
Have fun.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing. Just be happy
Mm,
with what you do and have fun doing it. If you don't have fun doing it, and of course sometimes you just don't have fun for a while, but if sort of the overall net product is having fun, then it's good.
yeah. happy art, happy life.
Exactly.
Awesome. Yeah,
It
thanks
was
everyone for coming in, checking out this video here, and check out your links down in the description at M Studios ADP. All the links are down in the description. Just put the Instagram up here. And you do have a YouTube with some pretty cool videos there too, so that's awesome. Keep drawing, keep creating, and see you in the next video.
Thanks for having